Title: The Last Bus to Nowhere. Late one cold winter night, a young man named Armin was returning from his job in a small town, walking alone on the empty road that led to the old bus stop where the last bus of the night passed at exactly 12:15 a.m. But that night the silence felt heavier than usual and the wind colder, as if the darkness itself was watching him from behind the trees. Armin kept checking his watch nervously, because everyone in town knew that missing the last bus meant walking 5 kilometers through the forest, something nobody ever did after midnight. Not because of wild animals, but because of the stories people whispered about a bus that sometimes arrived late, a bus that didn't appear in schedules anymore, a bus driven by someone no one could describe. And when Armin finally reached the bus stop, breathing heavily from walking fast, he found it completely deserted except for an old man sitting on the bench staring at the empty road. The man didn't blink or move, but simply whispered, "If a second bus arrives tonight, don't get on." And before Armin could ask what he meant, the old man stood up and slowly walked away into the darkness without looking back. Confused and uneasy, Armin waited in silence until exactly 12:15 a.m., when the familiar rusty yellow bus arrived with its headlights flickering, and he quickly boarded it, relieved to see the normal driver behind the wheel. He sat near the middle, closed his eyes, and tried to relax. But after a few minutes of driving, he noticed something strange. The bus wasn't taking the main road. Instead, it turned onto a narrow dirt path that led into the forest, a path no bus ever used, the trees closing in on both sides like giant shadows. Armin looked around and realized he was alone, no other passengers. No sound except the bus engine and the faint whisper of wind scraping against the windows. And when he finally stood up to ask the driver where they were going, he froze, because the driver's head was lowered unnaturally, facing down, hair covering his face entirely, sitting completely still as if he wasn't breathing at all. Armin stepped closer with trembling hands and whispered, "Sir, sir," but the driver didn't move. Instead, the bus suddenly accelerated violently, throwing Armin back into his seat as the trees outside began to blur into red and black colors. The forest growing darker and deeper, as if they were entering a place that didn't exist on any map. The bus lights flickered, and in one flash of light, Armin saw something horrifying, a silhouette sitting in the seat behind him, even though he had checked moments earlier and the bus was empty. The figure was tall and shadow-like, with glowing white eyes staring directly at him. And every time the light flickered, the shadow seemed closer, inching forward without making a sound. Panicking, Armin rushed to the front to grab the steering wheel, but before he could touch it, the driver slowly lifted his head, revealing a pale, almost grey face with hollow black sockets where eyes should have been, and in a voice that didn't sound human, he whispered, "You shouldn't have boarded this bus." Armin stumbled back, his heart pounding so fast he could barely breathe, and the bus door suddenly swung open while the vehicle was still moving at high speed, cold wind blasting inside, and a dark fog rolling along the floor like living smoke. The driver's voice echoed, "Get off." or stay forever, and behind Armin, the shadow figure was now only an arm's length away, reaching toward him with impossibly long fingers. With no choice left, Armin jumped out of the bus into the cold darkness, hitting the ground hard and rolling among dead leaves until everything went black. When he woke up, he was lying on the side of the normal main road, the same route he always took home, and the sun was rising slowly through the fog. Confusingly, his clothes were torn, his body bruised, but he was alive. He got up shakily and began walking home, thinking it was all a nightmare, until he reached his neighborhood and saw the same old man from the bus stop standing outside his house, staring at him with sad eyes. The old man whispered, "You were lucky. Most people who board that bus never return," and he handed Armin a small metallic bus token covered in rust, the same token long discontinued when the bus company shut down after a fatal accident years ago, involving a lost bus and all its passengers disappearing without a trace. Armin wanted to ask more, but when he looked up again, the old man had vanished, leaving only the token in Armin's trembling hand. That night, when he tried to sleep, he heard something outside an engine humming softly, headlights glowing through his curtains, and when he gathered the courage to peek outside, his blood froze because the same old abandoned bus was parked across the street, completely still, dark, waiting, and as he watched, the door slowly opened on its own with a metallic creak as the same hollow voice whispered from inside, "You didn't get off in time. This ride isn't over," and the screen fades out with Armin stepping back from the window as the bus engine grows louder, signaling that the last bus to nowhere had come back. To finish the journey, he escaped.